Hi, everybody. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt that something was wrong, even though nobody said anything? Or perhaps you spoken to someone who claimed they were absolutely fine, but every fiber of your being told you otherwise? Welcome to the fascinating world of body language, the silent conversation that happens between people every single day. Today, we're going to unlock the secrets of reading people like an open book. By the end of this story, you'll understand how to recognize the hidden messages that bodies send. Messages that are often more honest than the words people speak. The foundation. Separating verbal from nonverbal. Let me tell you about Sarah, a marketing manager who thought she was excellent at reading people. She prided herself on being able to understand her clients and colleagues. However, one Tuesday morning changed everything. Sarah was presenting a new campaign to her biggest client, Mr. Chen. Throughout her presentation, Mr. Chen nodded politely, said "interesting" several times, and even complimented her creative approach. Sarah felt confident. The meeting was going perfectly. But something nagged at her. Despite his positive words, his body was telling a different story. His shoulders were tense and slightly raised. His arms remained firmly crossed throughout the entire presentation. Most tellingly, his body was angled away from her, toward the door, as if he wanted to escape. When Mr. Chan's assistant called the next day to cancel their contract, Sarah finally understood what she had missed. His body had been screaming no, while his mouth was saying yes. This experience taught Sarah the first fundamental rule of reading people. The body never lies, but words often do. Understanding body posture, the foundation of truth. Our bodies are like ancient truth-telling machines that haven't learned how to lie effectively. While we've become sophisticated at controlling our words, our bodies still react with primitive honesty. Open postures signal comfort, confidence, and receptivity. Picture someone with relaxed shoulders, arms uncrossed, palms visible, and feet planted firmly on the ground. This person is saying, "I'm comfortable here, I trust you, and I'm open to what you have to say." Defensive postures are the opposite. They're protective barriers we unconsciously create. Crossed arms form a literal shield across our chest. Hunched shoulders suggest we're trying to make ourselves smaller, less noticeable. When someone's body language becomes defensive, they're essentially saying, "I need to protect myself from this situation." The voice, the bridge between body and words. But body language isn't just about posture and gestures. The voice carries incredible amounts of information that goes beyond words. Consider Lisa, a teacher who always claimed she loved working with difficult students. Her words were consistently positive. She would say, "I enjoy the challenge." However, when discussing these students, her voice would rise in pitch, speed up noticeably, and become slightly strained. Her voice was revealing the stress and anxiety that her words were trying to hide. The tone, volume, pace, and pitch of someone's voice can reveal nervousness, confidence, anger, excitement, or discomfort, regardless of what they're actually saying. A confident person speaks with a steady, clear voice. Someone who's nervous might speak faster, with a higher pitch. An angry person might speak slowly and deliberately with a lower, more controlled tone. The art of active observation. David worked as a security officer at a busy international airport. His job wasn't just to check tickets and scan bags. He needed to identify potentially dangerous individuals before they became a problem. This taught him the second crucial skill in reading people, active observation. Starting with neutral subjects. David's training began with what experts call neutral observation. Instead of trying to read people he knew personally, which could be clouded by his existing opinions and relationships, he started by observing strangers in public spaces. "Sit in the airport cafe," his instructor told him, "and just watch. Don't judge, don't assume, just observe." David learned to notice patterns. Business people waiting for flights had distinctly different body language than families going on vacation. Anxious flyers exhibited specific behaviors, checking their phones constantly, fidgeting with boarding passes, frequently looking at departure boards. This neutral practice environment allowed David to develop his observation skills without the emotional complexity of personal relationships. He learned to see body language as information, not as judgment. The power of inconsistency. The breakthrough moment came when David learned to look for inconsistencies, moments when verbal and nonverbal messages didn't match. One morning, a well-dressed businessman approached the security checkpoint. He smiled broadly, made friendly conversation with staff, and appeared completely relaxed. However, David noticed something odd. Despite this man's confident demeanor, his feet were shuffling nervously, and he kept touching his neck, a classic sign of stress. When David discreetly alerted his supervisor, a more thorough search revealed the man was carrying prohibited items. His body betrayed his intentions, even while his words and conscious expressions remained perfectly composed. This taught David the golden rule. When verbal and nonverbal messages conflict, trust the body. The honest feet. Perhaps the most surprising lesson David learned was about feet. People can control their facial expressions. They can manage their hand gestures, but they almost always forget about their feet. Feet point toward what we want and away from what we want to avoid. During conversations, if someone's feet are pointing toward the exit, they want to leave, regardless of how engaged they appear to be. If their feet are pointing toward you, they're genuinely interested in the conversation. David began noticing this everywhere. In meetings, people's feet would point toward speakers they found interesting and away from those they found boring. In social gatherings, feet would point toward people we wanted to talk to and away from those we were trying to avoid. The critical importance of context. Dr. Rodriguez, a psychologist specializing in human behavior, learned early in her career that body language without context is like reading a book with half the pages missing. The social context factor. One winter day, Dr. Rodriguez was consulting with a company about team dynamics. She noticed that several employees consistently sat with their arms crossed during meetings. Her initial assessment suggested defensiveness and resistance to new ideas. However, when she investigated further, she discovered something much simpler. The office air conditioning was broken and the room was freezing cold. The crossed arms weren't defensive, they were simply trying to stay warm. This taught her that environmental and social factors dramatically influence body language. Cultural background, social norms, physical comfort, and situational pressures all play crucial roles in how people express themselves nonverbally. The pattern recognition principle. Dr. Rodriguez also learned that single gestures mean very little. Patterns mean everything. She once worked with a CEO who frequently touched his nose during presentations. Initially, this might suggest deception or nervousness. However, Dr. Rodriguez observed that he did this during all presentations, regardless of the topic or audience. It was simply a personal habit, not a sign of dishonesty. The key insight. Look for changes in behavior patterns. If someone who usually maintains eye contact suddenly starts looking away, that's significant.
If someone who normally gestures freely suddenly becomes still, pay attention. Reading the room. Context also means understanding the broader environment. A person's body language at a funeral will be dramatically different from their body language at a celebration, and both are appropriate for their respective contexts. Dr. Rodriguez taught her clients to consider physical environment. Is it hot, cold, cramped, comfortable? Social setting. Is this formal, casual, stressful, relaxed? Cultural background. Different cultures have different norms for personal space, eye contact, and physical expression. Individual baseline. What is normal behavior for this specific person?
Advanced skills, microexpressions, and eye language. Detective Maria Santos had seen it all during her 15 years in law enforcement, but it wasn't until she studied microexpressions that she truly became exceptional at reading people. The science of microexpressions. Microexpressions are brief, involuntary facial expressions that appear for just a fraction of a second, usually between 1/25th to 1/5 of a second. They occur when people try to conceal their true emotions, but their genuine feelings leak through before they can control them. Dr. Paul Ekman, a renowned psychologist, identified 7 universal microexpressions that appear across all cultures. Joy. Genuine smiles engage both mouth and eyes. Sadness. Drooping eyelids and downturned mouth corners. Anger. Lowered brow, tightened lips, sometimes flared nostrils. Fear. Raised eyebrows, wide eyes, open mouth. Surprise. Raised eyebrows, wide eyes, dropped jaw. Disgust. Wrinkled nose, raised upper lip. Contempt. One corner of the mouth raised, asymmetrical expression. The story that changed everything. Detective Santos once interviewed a suspect in a robbery case. The man appeared calm, answered questions steadily, and maintained consistent eye contact. His story was detailed and seemed credible. However, Santos noticed something. Every time she mentioned the specific time of the robbery, a flash of fear crossed his face, so quickly that most people would have missed it entirely. This micro-expression lasted less than a quarter of a second, but it told Santos that the suspect was lying about his whereabouts at that specific time. Further investigation revealed that he had indeed been at the scene during the robbery. The language of eyes. Eyes truly are windows to emotion, but reading them requires understanding their subtle signals. Blinking patterns change with emotional state. Normal blinking occurs 15 to 20 times per minute. Rapid blinking often indicates stress, anxiety, or deception. Reduced blinking can suggest intense concentration or, in some cases, deception as people try to control their expressions. Pupil dilation responds to more than just light. Pupils dilate when we're interested, excited, or experiencing strong emotions. They constrict when we're bored, disinterested, or sometimes when we're being deceptive. Eye direction can indicate thought processes. When people look up and to the right, they're often constructing visual images, potentially creating stories. Looking up and to the left typically indicates recalling visual memories, remembering actual events. Gaze duration and frequency reveal comfort levels and interest. People tend to look longer at things and people they find interesting or attractive. They avoid eye contact when feeling guilty, ashamed, or deceptive.
Practical application and building confidence. James worked in sales and was struggling. Despite having excellent product knowledge and competitive prices, his closing rate was disappointing.
Everything changed when he learned to apply body language reading in real business situations. The patience principle. James's first lesson was learning to slow down. Previously, he would rush through presentations, eager to get to the close. Now he learned to pause, observe, and adapt based on what his clients' bodies were telling him. During one presentation, James noticed that his client's posture became more rigid when he mentioned price. Instead of continuing with his prepared script, James stopped and addressed the concern directly. "I sense you might have some concerns about the investment. Would you like to discuss that?" This approach, based on reading nonverbal cues, transformed his sales conversations from monologues into genuine dialogues. Trusting intuition. Perhaps the most valuable skill James developed was learning to trust his intuition, that unconscious processing of hundreds of microsignals that our brains pick up, but we don't consciously notice. One afternoon, James was meeting with a potential client who seemed perfect on paper. The client said all the right things, asked appropriate questions, and appeared engaged. However, something felt wrong. James couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was, but his instinct screamed that this deal would fall through. Instead of ignoring this feeling, he explored it. He started paying closer attention to subtle cues, the client's slightly forced enthusiasm, the way his eyes never quite focused during explanations, the subtle tension in his voice when discussing timeline and implementation. James's instincts were correct. The client was going through the motions, but had already decided to go with a competitor. By trusting his intuitive reading of the situation, James was able to adjust his approach and salvage what could have been a wasted opportunity. Building your reading skills. Developing body language reading skills is like learning a new language. It requires practice, patience, and gradual building of complexity. Start small. Begin by focusing on one aspect at a time. Spend a week just observing posture, then another week focusing on facial expressions, then voice patterns. Practice in low-stakes environments. Coffee shops, public transport, and shopping centers are perfect practice grounds where you can observe without pressure. Keep a mental journal. Notice patterns in your observations. What body language do you see in happy people versus stressed people? How do confident individuals carry themselves differently from insecure ones? Test your observations. When appropriate, gently verify your readings. If you sense someone is upset, you might say, "You seem a bit stressed today. Is everything okay?"
Conclusion: the transformation. 6 months after beginning her body language journey, Sarah had become a different person professionally. She could walk into any room and quickly assess the emotional climate. Her presentations became more effective because she could read her audience and adapt in real time. Her relationships improved because she became more attuned to others' unspoken needs and concerns. Detective Santos solved more cases by reading the subtle cues that revealed truth from deception. Dr. Rodriguez helped more clients by understanding their real emotional states, not just what they claimed to feel. David prevented numerous security incidents by recognizing suspicious behavior before it escalated. James doubled his sales by truly understanding his clients' concerns and objections. But perhaps most importantly, each of these individuals developed something invaluable: the ability to connect more deeply with other human beings. The universal language. Body language is humanity's universal language. Regardless of what words we speak, our bodies communicate in remarkably similar ways across cultures, ages, and backgrounds. When we learn to read this language, we gain access to a deeper level of human connection and understanding. Remember the key principles we've explored. The body doesn't lie. When verbal and nonverbal messages conflict, trust the body. Active observation.
Start with neutral subjects and look for inconsistencies. Context is crucial. Consider environment, culture, and individual baselines. Patterns matter more than single gestures. Look for recurring behaviors and changes from normal patterns. Trust your intuition. Your unconscious mind processes more information than you realize.
Your journey begins now. As you begin applying these skills, remember that reading body language is not about becoming a human lie detector or gaining an unfair advantage over others. It's about becoming more empathetic, more understanding, and more connected to the people around you. Start tomorrow. Sit in a cafe and simply observe. Watch how people interact, how their bodies respond to different emotions and situations. Notice the consistency between what they say and what they do. Pay attention to those moments when something doesn't feel quite right, and explore what your intuition might be telling you. Most importantly, use this knowledge responsibly. The goal isn't to manipulate or control others, but to understand them better, to communicate more effectively, and to build stronger, more authentic relationships. The power to read people is now in your hands. Use it wisely, practice regularly, and prepare to see the world around you in an entirely new way. The silent conversation is happening all around you, every moment of every day. Now that you know how to listen, you'll never miss another word. Your next steps to mastery. If this video has opened your eyes to the incredible power of reading body language, then you're ready to take your skills to the next level. But here's the truth. Watching this video once isn't enough. True mastery comes from practice, repetition, and continuous learning. Here's what I want you to do right now. First, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for Lengold English. We're building a community of people who are serious about improving their communication skills in English and understanding human behavior. Second, if this video helped you understand something new about body language, give it a thumbs up. Your like tells YouTube to share this knowledge with more people who need these life-changing skills. Third, share this video with someone who would benefit from these skills. Maybe it's a colleague who struggles with presentations, a friend who's dating, or a family member who works in sales. Knowledge is most powerful when it's shared. Fourth, here's your homework assignment, and I really want you to engage with this. Go out today and practice just one technique from this video. It could be observing feet direction, looking for microexpressions, or simply paying attention to posture-voice mismatches. Now, here's my question for you. In the comments below, tell me about a time when your gut feeling about someone was completely right, even though they seemed perfectly normal on the surface. What clues do you think your unconscious mind picked up? I read every single comment, and I'll share the most interesting stories in our next video. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Your journey to reading people like a master starts with that first step. Subscribe to Lengold English, practice what you've learned today, and join thousands of others who are transforming their ability to understand and connect with people. The power is in your hands. Use it wisely.